How did a young man go from being what many people call plainly dirt poor to a billionaire that owns one of the largest movie studios in the United States? That's the story of none other than Tyler Perry. You would have heard many grass to gray stories by now, but that of Tyler Perry still remains one that stands out. To truly understand his journey to success, let's take it from the top. Growing up with abuse. Tyler Perry dealt with more than poverty in his years growing up. Sure, they had to live from paycheck to paycheck, but that wasn't the worst of it. Perry was raised by an abusive man who thought he was his father, so it was years of physical and mental abuse until he watched an episode of Oprah Winfrey's talk show. When she talked about how writing helped with stress, he thought it was a great idea and started out on what would later be his ticket to the big screens. But it would still be years before this would happen. Perry's 20s after dropping out from high school was all about touring small theaters. The plan was to perform all the plays wrote, produced, and even featured in. Of course, he had to find a job as well, and this was at Windsor Court Hotel in New Orleans. Perry felt this was perfect since it was also home to the National Association of Television Program Executives Conference. So he would take one of the badges that had been left behind and sneak in to attend the private event. Everything Tyler Perry knows about the entertainment industry today is from feats similar to this, but let's continue the story. Perry never stopped writing scripts, but he also worked as a bill collector and a car seller. From doing so many odd jobs and saving every single penny that came into his hands, he was able to save up a whopping $12,000. This is pretty impressive for someone that earned only a few dollars daily. But Perry made it work. Remember that script he started writing while watching Oprah Winfrey's show? Well, that turned out to be the play, I Know I've Been Changed. It was a personal story about surviving child abuse, but this was no overnight success, of course. How Tyler Perry met Oprah Winfrey. The $12,000 that Tyler Perry had saved up for months of hard work went into renting a space at the community theater in Atlanta. He felt it was time to produce I Know I Have Been Changed, but the turnout was lower than he had expected. At this time, Perry spent every dime on him, and the next 3 months were spent living in his car because he couldn't pay rent anymore. During this time, he was working on tweaking the production to make sure more people noticed his work, and he did succeed to a huge extent. At least, he caught the attention of Oprah Winfrey. With every tour around the country, Perry was gathering a family of fans, especially Black Americans who related with his work. They loved the idea of someone giving them both a laugh and a voice. During this time, he created the iconic character Medea. Now, who doesn't know who Medea is? That's the straight-talking grandmother with large breasts, stomach, and even the worst wig sitting on her head. But she's always there with brutally honest humor that drew crowds to the small theaters in Black communities. Oprah heard about the traveling plays, and the day she went to see in Los Angeles was the day things began to change for Tyler Perry. Not so long after the show in 2001, Perry was on her talk show to discuss dedication and, most importantly, the secrets of making money. At that time, Oprah already owned Harpo and her show, so she shared with Perry the importance of always being in control. From that moment, she became his friend and catalyst. Over the years, even before Perry got into television shows and film, he had made more than $30 million from selling videos of his performances, about $20 from his sales of merchandise, and a whopping $100 million from ticket sales alone. And this was when Tyler Perry realized that he was ready for the big stage, Hollywood. The move to Hollywood and beyond. Walking down the streets, Tyler Perry couldn't take a few steps without people screaming Medea and Tyler. It was like he was already a famous superstar and everybody knew his name. But he was so wrong. He picked the 1,200-seat Wilshire Abel Theater in Los Angeles as a venue of his introduction to the Hollywood industry. So, with 3 nights booked for a run of his film, Diary of a Mad Black Woman, Perry felt that he had put enough in place to draw out the lawyers, executives, and producers that would make him a star. Just as he wanted, the show was sold out, but not with the kind of people he wanted on the seats. They were just locals, and the top dogs of Hollywood sent their assistants to check out what he was all about. They had no idea who he was. One of Chuck Lorre's assistants was present to try to pitch a sitcom about Perry to networks, but that didn't work out. It was downhill from there, with about 10 years of working on film scripts and stage plays. Anyone else would have given up at this point, but not Tyler Perry. There wasn't even anything much on television for people of color. But then he saved up some more money again. This time, he rented a warehouse in South Atlanta and started investing in all the equipment for a soundstage. He bought set decoration, mics, and lights for shooting his first sitcom on a multi-generational black family. By the time UPN and WB, who were struggling broadcast networks at that moment, merged into CW, they started searching for new content, and Perry had it ready. He made his Hollywood move again, armed with 10 full episodes all ready to air. That is the show that became House of Pain and pulled massive ratings. You know how everyone is a friend of success. Well, the big networks started paying attention, including TBS. They offered him $200 million to leave CW, and Perry pocketed more than $130 million from this deal. It was super smart.